joined once again by Brandon Davis, who's going to be fighting this Sunday against Steven Peterson at UFC Fight Night 126. Brandon, what's going on? How are you?
Not much. Long day having to get all this stuff ready for this fight, all the physicals and eye exams and all that done. So I've been going like since 8 o'clock this morning and finally just got done. So now I'm ready to actually get to training and get ready for this guy some more.
Well, I won't keep you too long. And again, I appreciate the time. I know things are a little bit hectic, especially when you take a short notice fight like this. How did this all come together? Because I saw a post on Twitter and then I checked like a couple hours later and all of a sudden the reports are out that you're fighting Steven Peterson.
Oh man, my manager actually had just got done teaching a Muay Thai class, and one of my coaches called me. He's like, man, don't tell anybody, but there's this guy that we're trying to get you a fight against, and his guy couldn't come or whatever. They didn't tell me a reason why that Humberto couldn't make it or whatever. And I was like, man, I'll take it. I don't care who it is. I'm ready to get back in there. I'm not hurt. And I started back training Tuesday when I got back from Boston on Monday. I started back training Tuesday and doing two-a-days, so I didn't have any time off, and they knew I was ready. They were actually calling for Jason Knight, but Jason wasn't ready. He'd been taking some time off, trying to spend some time with his family and everything. So Alan told Sean Shelby, he's like, man, Jason's really not ready yet, but Brandon is. And Sean Shelby was like, no, man, it's too close. He just fought. And then Alan sent me that message and a picture, and I said, man, that's crazy. I got hit 35 times. I didn't think I got hit 35 times, but I literally only felt 2 punches. And I was like, I said, I'll send you this. I'll send you that, all the stats and everything. You send it to him. Tell him I started training the next day. I mean, I didn't take any time off. I'm not hurt. Don't even have black eyes or anything. And he said, all right, I'll try. And he sent him that and no word. And then another day later, he was like, if Brandon still wants to fight, you can have it. And I'm like, hell yeah. So that's kind of how it came about. And even Steven, even he didn't know. He was like, man, what are you talking about? I'm fighting Humberto. I said, no, you're not. You might want to give it to your managers, man, because he ain't fighting.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty crazy. I actually did an interview with Steven that day, and then all of a sudden at night we find out that he's fighting you. So it was a little bit crazy as far as how everything sort of got matched together. I know the post you're referring to because I saw on Twitter you posted the stats from the fight against Kyle Bochniak at UFC 220. And, if you look at the strikes, you definitely outlanded him. How shocked were you that he ended up getting the decision in that fight?
During the fight, I didn't have it in my mind that we were in his hometown, so I never thought I was going to be biased or what. I thought it was biased. Other people just say I didn't control enough. For one, I didn't hardly take any steps back. I was controlling the center of the octagon the entire time, so I don't know where the control comes from because he took me down 3 times out of 15 tries and never got to hold me there. I wasn't on the floor for probably more than 3 seconds the entire fight. So how they're saying I didn't control is crazy. I understand. I would have gave him the first round. He held me on the cage for 2.5 minutes, but he didn't do anything with it. Couldn't take me down, couldn't hit me. I landed twice the strikes. I was controlling. I put my hands down and tried to walk towards him to try to get him to engage. If I walk towards you with my hands down and you're not fighting, you're not trying to punch me in the face, you're not trying to fight. And people are like, oh, you just need to learn how to cut off the cage. The thing is, I would cut off this way, and it was almost like he would be sprinting, not really sprinting because he didn't turn his whole body, but he would shuffle as fast as he could the other way. So it made me look dumb, and it made me look like I wasn't cutting off the cage. But it was just that he was trying to get away so fast. At one point in the fight, it had been a minute within the first round, and he hadn't thrown anything. I had thrown a couple of leg kicks, but he wouldn't come to engage. So I put my hands down, and I went like this. The crowd started booing, so he tried to come in and throw a couple of strikes in his corner, said, no, don't worry about what the crowd, if they boo or this and that. We're going to keep to our plan. You just stay back and move. And I kind of looked over to the corner like, that's your game plan? Like, you're not going to come fight? I understand you're kind of on the chopping block, but that's not what people want to see. So, I thought that I won the fight. I thought I had won the second and third round. I landed more strikes. The second round, he couldn't take me down. He couldn't hold me on the cage. And the third round, I landed more strikes, took him down, reversed one of his takedowns. I don't know. It is what it is. It's over now, so I'm just looking forward to this one.
And speaking of your opponent now, Steven Peterson, was he someone you were familiar with on the regional scene? Because, he fought for LFA and he'd sort of been, I know he primarily fought at bantamweight, but was he someone you had your eye on even before the UFC?
Never heard of him.
Really?
When my coaches told me, I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
I said, fuck, take it.
Interesting. All right.
But I do. But after they told me to look him up, I was like, oh, yeah, I do remember watching that fight because it was a good fight between him and
Benito.
Benito.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good fight. I remember watching that. But I'd never heard him before, and I didn't know that was his name. I was just like, let's take it.
Oh, great. Well, of course, that's awesome. How do you feel like you match up against him now that you've sort of had a chance to look at his fight and everything else?
He's a good fighter. He likes to come forward like me. He was talking about how he's gonna give me double losses for one. I don't think he's big enough. His striking isn't terrible. I mean, or he has good striking. He comes forward. He puts on a lot of pressure. That's good, but his striking isn't crisp. He leaves a lot of openings. So I mean, I see a lot there. He does have good cage pressure. Takedowns are decent, but they're not great. He's like Kyle, except for he likes to pressure more. So, I mean, I got a solution for if somebody tries to run from me next time. So that's not going to happen again. But if he comes forward, it's going to be a fight that everybody wants to see. We're both going to throw, and we'll see if he can take it. I know he's a smaller guy coming up, and I cut a lot to get to 45, so we'll see if he can take it.
And that was going to be the next question. How is the cut going? Because you just fought recently. I imagine you've been training the whole time. I imagine things are pretty good.
Yeah, usually like after a fight, I won't have another fight. I usually want for the UFC. It's not that way, but I'd usually try to fight like every month if I could, or every 2 months at the most. So I'd get back up to like 26 pounds, above 27 pounds. This time I'm only 15 pounds out because I've still been training twice a day and doing everything, so it's not that bad. I can cut that in a day if I wanted to. The Contender Series fight, I cut 21 pounds in 3 days, so it's not bad. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. How's training camp going? And I imagine just the same guys you've been working with helping you get ready for this fight?
Yeah, well, Jason got back in here, kind of lit a fire under him. He's like, yeah, all right, I took enough time off. He saw that I got to fight pretty quickly. And he's coming back, so that's always a good partner. They kind of him and Jason kind of have a similar style. Jason's bigger and stronger, but they both like to come forward. They both like to throw. They got decent ground game. Steven has a decent top game, but my jiu-jitsu is pretty good as well. So we've just been working on a few things, more so working on if somebody tries to run. I know how to stand and fight if somebody's coming to fight. If they're running, I've been working on that and getting off the cage a little bit as well.
So how do you see this fight playing out on Sunday?
I don't think it goes all 3 rounds.
Okay.
He's going to come forward and he takes shots, but if you look at his fights, every one of them, he's kind of busted up and he'll win, but he's fighting 35ers and smaller people, and I'm a 45er and I'm pretty quick, and I feel like my striking is pretty dynamic, so I'm going to be mixing that up with everything. I'm making an MMA fight, so people can't say, oh, well, you learn to do MMA or do this. I mean, dude, I have good wrestling, I have good takedowns, I have good jiu-jitsu, but I like to strike, and people like to see that. So I'm trying to make some money and put on a show and get some fans and win at the same time. So I come out there to do what people want to see.
We can't wait for this fight. It's coming up here on Sunday. Definitely fight of the night potential here. It is UFC Fight Night 126. Brandon, thanks so much for doing this, man. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate you taking the time. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would like to give a shout-out to Neo Life. They're one of my physical therapy. They're my physical therapists, and they do fix me all up. So after this fight, I wasn't hurt or anything, but they still get me back in there immediately, get me right back to training and working different stuff as far as stretches and stuff. So I can always get more flexible. That's my probably worst part of my overall stats. If I had stats, my flexibility would be around 10. But they're awesome. They always fix me up. Receptra Naturals are my CBD oil company. They help me. I always have inflammation in my knees from doing jiu-jitsu and everything. And they also sent me a sick pair of shoes. If you ever go on my Instagram, look at them. But they have a deal going on right now for February and Valentine's Day. Check them out. My social media on Instagram and Twitter is Brandon Davis UFC. If you ever go on Facebook, it's Brandon Killer B Davis. I don't get on that one quite as much, but I'll post some stuff on there every now and then. So that's about it. Another really, really good sponsor is Receptra. I mean, not Receptra, but Reunite the Fight. They are a vet-owned company for vets. Like, they're 100% nonprofit. They're one of the only vet-owned companies that's 100% goes 100% to nonprofit and to other vets. They're sending one woman out, Susan, to Hawaii with her daughter. She has ovarian cancer, so she doesn't have much more time, so they're trying to get her out there. They also have these huge concerts coming up in Michigan. That's where they're based out of. and super cheap tickets and really good bands going. So if you can, go to reunitethefight.org and check them out and try to support, because they already did their part for us going overseas and helping us during the war and everything. So time for us to give back a little bit. But other than that, that's about it for me.
What's up, fight fans? If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to see even more interviews with your favorite UFC and Bellator fighters. We've also got coverage at events, including post-fight press conferences and media scrums. And if you like this video, check out the video to my right. It's worth your time.